Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
Good morning, children. It's going to be a quiet asshole consulting because everybody's still sleeping. The old Capmeister just wake up. Can't go back to sleep for some reason. And when you hit your 40s, you'll hit this too. I got my South Dakota mug. Look at that. South Dakota. There's an elk. There's a buffalo. Of which both do exist in South Dakota because I've come up close and personal to them on my motorcycle. I shall finish this off. So let the contribution to GDP begin. We have our Katie, our good Ashkenazi Jew friend, which I found out the Ashkenazis are the largest group of Jews. I thought it was this special elite group of Jews. No, that's just like your average Jew. And so, you're nothing special, Arcady. Hi Aaron, new video request. Please provide a quote. I know many people who own a house in California and a house someplace in Europe or the Middle East. And they often tell me how their houses here need constant maintenance while hardly any work needs to be done on their houses in those in other countries. I don't know. When I drove around Lake Lucano and Lake Como in Italy, I just noticed that all the houses in Europe needed work. Perhaps it's different of your individual people, but I looked at Europe. I'm like, does anybody maintain their homes here? And apparently not. That was one of the bigger letdowns that I saw on Lake Como, because in my mind, Lake Como was like, oh, this is where the real cool man. I'm like, dude, how much mold? Is this where mold is? Do you guys export your mold? Because there's a lot of mold here. You have as much mold as the Saudis have oil. And the Venezuelans too. But Venezuela, they're socialists, so they can't get the oil out of the ground. Because Marxists can't do shit. All right. As you know, the homes in Europe and the Middle East are built much more solidly from stone or brick with a way heavier and way higher end pipes, electrical, and the rest of the infrastructure. A 50-year-old home in Europe would be considered almost new, while the United States, it's considered old. I realize that there's more brick than wood in colder states such as yours, but in my mind, the fact that most of the homes in this country are built from wood and other fragile materials is ridiculous, and doesn't go all that well with the whole notion that we are the strongest and best country. I'm going to disagree with you on this. Do you believe that the reason that so many of the homes in the U.S. are so cheaply made and are basically built from cardboard and cheap plumbing materials with a very short lifespan is a conspiracy theory, or a conspiracy by Homie DePot and the construction industry as a whole to force people to constantly fix and renovate things? Thanks, Arcady. Okay. The main... let me go to my notes. You always make me take notes, man. Alright, there's a couple... one, I don't believe it's a conspiracy. I really don't. Because the United States is different than Europe because we're a very new country. Don't worry, we're going to collapse soon, too. But Europe, to quote Eddie Izzard, that's where all the history is. And Europe has gone through a history where people predominantly got through by walking around and ox and horses, where the United States, for half of its existence almost, has had trains, planes, and automobiles. And so you're going to see a difference. It increases mobility. So what you're going to see is that Europe, in terms of where we're going to build our homes and how we're going to build them, are much more, this is our land, we're going to defend it until, well, we got all SJW in. Let everybody in. Come on in. We got socialism. You'll work, right? Whereas the United States, I mean, it's like, okay, we got the colonies, here we are, and then blammo, steam engine, trains, the Iron Horse, and we settled the West. Then you have other innovations like air conditioning. Like, is that a desert? We can't go there. What? We got air conditioning? We can go there. Now you got huge metropolitan areas like Vegas and Phoenix in the middle of the freaking desert. And so this mobility, I would say, going, and I rarely am I positive, but I will tip my hat to positivity where it exists. This mobility to go where the opportunity is, to have capital go where it's allowed to go, without a monarch, without a king, without a dictator saying, no, you can't do that. That freedom and the technology of mobility and technology like air conditioning allows Americans to like, no, we're going here, we're going there. So this kind of puts Americans in a quasi-state of perpetual vagabondancy, if that makes any sense. It's, well, you've seen it on this channel where I get a lot of young men. They're like, in the olden days, you'd park your ass in a house by the factory and you'd build it there. But now with the internet, even, internet's another example of technology that has made it that our labor is mobile. Even truck drivers. The oil fields. We're going to go to the oil fields, the Bakken oil fields. So I think because of our true unique culture, if you want to even claim we have one anymore, the United States has had no real reason, like, let's build this for 500 years. Excuse me, I wake up like this. Coughing and phlegm. Let's build this for 500. They don't have that. It's like, let's build it here temporarily. We have the mobile home, for God's sake. So I don't think Americans come from the same cultural background as Europeans do, because of things like transportation and technology and innovation. It's just not. I mean, I think this house I'm in right now, this is the longest place I've ever lived in. One house. And I'm moving. I've been here 13 years. Before that, it was 6 years at the house. And, you know, that house has been torn down. There's a parking lot there. I don't think it's in our DNA. I really don't think so. I know also a lot of European countries, because the men are pussies. And you are, because you're a bunch of socialist pussies. You voted in. Not you, Arcade. I'm talking the pussies. The socialist pussies. The United Kingdom and Britain, France, that we always got to go safe once every 20, 30, 40 years. They all live at home with their parents. And in the United States, it's, you're 18, get the fuck out. Except for the millennial generation, because the millennials are pussies. So they didn't want to be European, because the Europeans know so much. So this independence and this American culture and our technology and the relative newness of our country has made it that the United States has never really been vested in like, this is our land. It's like, no, I'm getting the fuck out of here. You guys treat me like shit, I'm gone. So that wanderlust, we could say. Now, and there's two other things, though, that also more modernly make it so that we're always looking for new and maybe not invest in the long term in our housing and our structures. Now another thought just came to me. I was Bern, Switzerland. If you look at it, they built stone because of fire. There's another, I know this is terribly intellectual, but Bern, I think, a town in Switzerland was burned down to the ground because they had all their structures made of wood. And then if you go to Bern now, it's all stone. So that's another reason fire was a big, so I know it's not sexy. It's not sociologically sexy, but fire was a big issue. So Europe built stone. Now we have way better fire detection and fire prevention. But anyway, the two main things I was going to go with America today as to why we don't build more permanent structures and higher quality structures. One, wifey poo is never happy. The American pussy is never happy. The American pussy will always demand bigger, better, stronger, faster. And you dopes, you suckers, you STEM majoring men will go and buy her anything she wants. And I saw this not only in my own personal life, but I saw this when I was doing research for Poor Richard's retirement. Everybody idealizes the 50s, but you got to realize in the 50s, you know, you'd have 3 kids in one room. There'd be a bunk bed and a little bed for the little girl. You'd have 3 kids in one room. You'd have one car. You'd share one car. The egregious materialism of modern-day American wives, and I do mean that, it's disgusting. Particularly white women. Let's point it out where it happens, and I have seen it firsthand, and I know people that I shan't mention when I visit them in their prestigious, way upper middle class places. Women just, wives, the pussy commands. We have bigger houses. We have to have a McMansion. And there's a downside to that on the other side. The baby boomers now, as the baby boomer pussy starts to get gray and old and wrinkly and stinky, no guy wants that anymore. Now they're downsizing. Now, Herman or Charlie. What are other baby boomer names? Frank, Steve, Bob, your standard American name. John. These guys are getting old. They can't maintain the property anymore. And they're going from these McMansions, and now they're pushing out the millennials on their single family homes as these baby boomers downside. Oh God, equilibrium is great. Equilibrium is great. But it's women, and I know somebody in the industry, in the biz, where these up and coming young Gen X women who still got a little bit of pussy power left, and they have their men's husbands' balls firmly within their purse, they gotta have these brand new in the develop. If there's the word "the" in front of it, like I ran into this experience here, Arcady. Got to go to an apartment, moving out here, obviously, so we get an apartment. We're not just in Bob's apartment. We're in the, and fill it in, the Elliott, the Livingston, the Arcady. And we're in one of those the apartments. And its developments is the same thing. So your modern day Gen Xer women, they have to be in the something estates, the Willow, the this, the that, because the pussy demands. And you cocks, you pussy men will just provide. You will. Whatever, dear. I'll do this, dear. Oh, whatever you want, dear. So it is women, American women, and their insatiable materialism appetites that drive, well, we can't live here. I mean, it's kind of funny. I even saw this with the GF, to be perfectly honest. I could live in a dump. I can't. A burger comes in. The greatest thing about that is I get to shoot him. If he stole my shit, there's not a lot of shit to steal. I mean, you stole that. Okay, good luck selling that crap. No one. I got it. I mean, they're right here. I got my 3 boxes of mementos right here. It's just 3 boxes. That's the most important things to me in my life, and a lot of it is just, well, all of it, frankly, is just papers and things and mementos and notes. It has absolutely no market value. But she's like, well, this is kind of a bad name. Well, that's not. I'm like, this is a perfectly fine place. This is all. I'm okay being here. Oh, there's a bad. Like, really, we got to this level. Like, even Richfield, Minnesota, which none of you know, was at one time a very nice suburb. Then it went really bad, and now it's kind of on the up. And it's solid blue collar, like, hard working blue collar people gotta live somewhere. And maybe it's a little bit dingy, but that doesn't mean it's a bad neighborhood. It's perfectly fine. I live at Ghettos in the Sky. Everybody look up Ghettos in the Sky. It's where the Somalis all live. Not bad. It was alright. It was okay. It wasn't the south side of Chicago. But man, have women's expectations gone up in the United States? And you men, fuck Christ, fuck Allah, and fuck Yahweh. That's what the Jews worship Yahweh. You guys all worship the pussy, and you just can't wait to just sacrifice all your material production and animal sacrifices and all your labor and all your GDP on the altar of the pussy. That's your true God right there. You guys cannot wait to sacrifice it, and you will buy the most overpriced, luxurious, egregious pieces of property and houses just to make wifey poo happy. So the pussy in the United States, I think, really does drive the housing market here, because no more than 10 years ago, it was like, yeah, here's this nice, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 2-car garage. Oh no, you need 3 or 4-car garage now. Oh no, the pussy demands. And I'm being deadly serious. I'm not even being funny or facetious in the slightest. You guys, the handful of you who are engineers and make the good money and the six figs, yo, you guys just piss it all away on a way bigger house than you need. So I think that is this constant moving to the bigger and the better. There is a perfectly fine, Arcadia, if you want to look at the map of Minneapolis, there are perfectly fine houses within Richfield, within Fridley, within these inner ring suburbs, neighborhoods. But no, we got to be out, not in Minnetonka, not in Bloomington. We got to be in Lakeville. We got to be in Elko. We got to be in, what's on the north side? Andover. We got to be in Woodbury. So that is another thing that in other words, it's not the quality of construction, it's that there's no demand for the quality of construction. Women don't say, we're going to stay here forever. Like, I need this. Women need to constantly upgrade. And since men worship at the pussy in the United States, they constantly have to upgrade as well. And they just move out, further. And then when they all get old, women like, I want to be in a downtown flat. You guys, okay, puppy dogs that you are, you fucking weak, pathetic, spineless men. Then the other thing is, then there's, we could call it white flight, but I would just call it capital flight, because there is a difference. Even black people don't want to live where black people live. Yeah, but it's true, because we do have some brothers and sisters that do live, I don't want to live here either. And that, because the United States is not like this consistent demography. People change, the people themselves change, and there is white flight. And this also and the reason I call it capital flight, because it isn't truly racial. It's people that work hard, bust their asses off, like real Americans do, regardless of your stripe. They're like, yeah, I want to get out of this shithole. No, I'm not going to build a fancy house. Perfect example. In some Asian countries, in Mexico, Latino countries, there'll be a very nice house in the ghetto, but it has barbed wire. South Africa, it's basically a fortress. So they get this really nice house, but it's protected around the slums around it. Yeah, in the United States, we don't do that. We just leave, because there's enough land out here for the time being. And so you propagate capital flight. And so people who are productive, smart, brain drain, capital flight, white flight, whatever you want to call it, they're like, yeah, no, we're leaving. There's a nicer development over there. And so especially you look at Detroit was the heyday. Oh, dude, Detroit? Hang on, let's look this up. Let's look at Detroit. Detroit was a great town like 60 years ago. I think it was the 4th largest metro in the United States. Detroit, 1950s. Come on, Clary, type in 1950. 1950. Detroit population hits 1.85 million, making it America's 4th largest city. The old Capmeister. The rise and fall of Detroit, a timeline. Yeah, Detroit was the bomb, man. It was Motown, the music in the 60s. I mean, Detroit was this great American city. And you go, then the blacks came in. It's not necessarily the blacks. It's that you had Democrats, socialists come in and parasite off of everybody, and everybody split town. The suburbs around Detroit, and you could say this is pretty much every major city, the suburbs around every major city has productive people. The city itself largely becomes a welfare class, just a piddle. I mean, well, Seattle does have Amazon and Microsoft, although I think Microsoft's in Renton. I don't even know if Amazon's in Seattle proper. I mean, just look at the history of it. Yeah, here's 1950s Detroit. People are working. People are in ties and suits. Everybody's busting ass. Everybody's making money. And now it's abandoned. So whereas you, Arcady, would say, oh, Europe should have everything established in these built houses, I would argue that, okay, your policies changed. You no longer represent or respect the individual's right to their own labor. Well, fuck you, we're leaving. And I prefer that. I mean, okay, there's not a lot of culture. There's not a lot of buildings left over. It doesn't necessarily leave a legacy. But at least these people aren't enslaved to a socialist dictatorship. All right? Okay, yeah, Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore, Detroit, whatever. You guys vote in all the Marxist socialist slop you want. These people are leaving. These people are going to make something of their lives. And the suburbs are boring and they're bland. I'll grant you that. There's nothing really exciting going on there. A lot of that also has to do with the modern day economy. Like, we're going to have, it's all digital now. And, how much excitement can you... In the olden days, I built a car. I built this car. I built this drive shaft. I built that thing. And there it goes down the road. Today, it's more like, well, I did a digital internet thing, and I don't really see its production unless you're in the trades. So I'll grant you that that's gone. But if a local municipality makes it impossible to work there, it will become a shithole. And that's what most major metropolitan areas do. And so there's no real reason to invest in a brick and mortar home when it's either going to be taken over by socialist Marxists, it's going to be destroyed, no one's going to want it. It's got property taxes alone, where you don't own your house, you rent it from the city. The smart money looks at it and says, yeah, I'm not gonna build something there long term. I'm not gonna put a brick and mortar place here. I am gonna put whatever the cheapest, most affordable economic construction available in today's technology is. And you can kind of see it. Like, you look at these 1960s, 1970s homes, they're perfectly fine. They're still standing, which is why I disagree with you. They're not stone, but because of the dynamism and the constantly evolving and changing and evolutionizing of the U.S. economy, there's really no reason to put a brick and mortar place here because, frankly, the politics of that piece of property that it sits in and the governmental domain that it sits in changes all the time. So why would I put my palace in Minneapolis if a bunch of self-hating Swedes or descendants of Swedes who can't wait to just fuck themselves over constantly vote in socialism? Why would I invest in a 500-year lifespan building if the local people are going to vote to take that wealth? So I think the history of the United States, the power of the pussy, let's never forget that, capital flight, and the fact that the United States is more quick, we're more nimble. We don't this is our land. We're like, you're gonna end up, fuck it. It's all, go west, young man, go west. There's always an option to go somewhere else. I think that is what's really driving I wouldn't call it shoddy, but the disposable. I mean, the house, I'm in a house here. This house is 120 years old. It still works as a house. There's some problems with it. Not major, but there's still some minor problems that have to be dealt with. I don't have to deal with no more because I'm selling it. But yeah, we're not in it for the long haul. I think the American culture is what's truly driving the temporary, and by temporary I mean only 150 years nature, sometimes 50, of U.S. housing. And as you probably have seen in the United States, we're just better than Europe. We're just better than Europe. Hey, we're more efficient. We're going to capitalize on shit. Hey, there's this... I was just through my old neighborhood yesterday. Went to the University of Minnesota. And there was an old neighborhood where there was a plastics factory. You could smell it. You could smell it back in the 90s. And now that's all gone. And they just built up. They bought out all the crappy, Rambler one-story housing. They tore it all down. They put in some brand new. And you know what? I'm okay with that because the economy dictated that. The houses were probably still just fine. They probably just work okay. There's nothing wrong with them. Could they be more efficient? Yes. Were they built to last 500 years? No. But at least in the United States, we look at economics. We look, can we do it better? Can we gentrify this neighborhood? Can we provide more value to the local citizenry, in spite of Minneapolis housing regulations, than what is currently available now? And I think that is what makes the U.S. housing stock very temporary. I wouldn't say less quality, though. I really wouldn't. Yeah, okay, is a house going to last, made of wood, is it going to last as long as a European house made of stone? No, of course not. But there's a lot of risk having a stone house, a concrete house in this one area, with all the invading and going on in Europe, that your capital is not as mobile. And so, yes, I'm not disagreeing with what your colleagues experience over in the Middle East, and they say, well, this is better housing, that's worse housing. It's true. But I would say that's a disadvantage. Oh, great. You have a really heavy house that just, in the United States, we can actually pick up houses and move them. We can. I'm not talking the mobile homes. You can actually move a house. But in Europe, like, this is a stone, this is my house. I'm like, well, have fun protecting against the Russians, the Germans, the Nazis, Napoleon, the Muslims again, the Byzantines, the Goths, the Visigoths. We could go on. I just prefer the United. There is one drawback, though, and that is the loss of architecture, the loss of culture, loss of history. I agree that's a drawback. But I don't know. I would prefer to have your capital mobile. We're selling that, and you tear it down and build it, whatever you want. Don't care. This house has been here since the 1500s. And yeah, it is beautiful and way more pretty than the modern day architecture in a McMansion. But yeah, what is it actually? That's where you see. You can see it on a microcosmic level here in the Twin Cities. Go down. Portland. Is it Chicago Avenue? I think it's Chicago Avenue. There's a stretch of mansions in, not the ghetto, but it's definitely a crappier part of town. And they're all nonprofits. They're all museums, like the Swedish. Hang on, I can look it up. Atham, look this up. I'm tired. I might go back to sleep. Swedish Institute. It's kind of funny because Muslims now, or not Muslims, Somalis now live in that area. Park Avenue. If you go down Park Avenue in the Twin Cities, again, not the ghetto, but not the greatest area either. And there's all these old mansions that used to live there. Oh, great, you saved your mansion. But no one wants to live there because the property taxes are too high and the crime is too high. And so they turn into like non-profits and crap like that. Yeah, here it is. Stately Museum and Culture Center featuring Swedish history exhibit. Is the Swedish history exhibits the men bending over so you can get raped and ass fucked by a bunch of immigrants? Is that it? Naughty, Aaron. You shouldn't talk the truth. Alright, so there you go. Glad we had this discussion. Questions, answers, assholeconsulting.com. Links down below. Read the books, blah, 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 blah. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.